Elijah Schaffer is a Blaze TV host of Slightly Offensive. And he's really not offensive. Well, he's slightly offensive. Actually, he's more than slightly offensive to those who believe in this Marxist world where we all have to bow down and genuflect. He's very offensive to those people, maybe slightly offensive to you. Welcome, Elijah. How are you?
I am doing great out here in the new country of Chaz, Seattle. Thank you for having me on, Glenn.
You bet. You're not actually staying there, are you? In that 6-block radius?
No, I'm not actually staying there, and thank God, because a friend that I'm staying with, who's also a journalist, was attacked. They tried to steal his property, and then they wanted to take him to an interrogation tent because they said he's trying to copy or capture their security plan. So it's divulging into a police state at night and then a hippie fest in the day.
What do you mean an interrogation tent?
That is a good question. I'm glad I don't know, but I know that multiple times they told me he needed to come with them, and they tried to forcibly take him. They assaulted him. This is one of Raz Simone's crew that was out there last night. The supposed leader, alleged leader of the area, I don't know if he's a good or a bad guy, but he definitely was assaulted. The police had to get involved, and he's just a journalist, not even partisan. He works for a nonpartisan editorial called Scriber News. So I don't know why he was a target of attack.
The leader of Chaz, they found some tweets in his past that shows that he's very anti-homosexual, or at least has made very crude remarks on Twitter about homosexuals. Is he gonna pay a price for that? Will he go to the interrogation camp? Do you know, or tent?
You know, he won't. And I think that brings up the weird paradox of the fight between Antifa and Black Lives Matter, where Raz Simone represents more of the Black Lives Matter protest, but Antifa, which are using an entirely organized police system with the John Brown Gun Club, which is also linked to a terrorist attack on an ICE facility, and they are tied in heavily with Antifa, essentially like an Antifa security group. I did go undercover, talk to one individual, and he, in Black Bloc, told me that so he wasn't going to pursue these suspects any longer because that were infiltrating, because they had left his region. So at least I know they have the place divided up into regions, and they have different personnel there monitoring, chasing, and there definitely are laws and rules. There's no First Amendment. They attacked a street preacher for sharing the gospel. When I asked them why they attacked him, they said because he was using the N-word and doing Nazi-style stuff. And I said, all I heard him do was preach the gospel. And they told him he was mentally ill. They said that his preaching was a sign of mental illness and he needed mental help. And then they picked him up, dragged him out, stole his speaker, his phone, and even at one point chokeholded him face down on the asphalt, very similar to George Floyd, which is ironic when you're protesting police brutality.
Yeah, I saw that finally somebody came up and said, what are you guys doing? You know, knowing that this was exactly what happened to George Floyd. Tell me about the distinction between three different groups. One, the diehards, the ones that are there in almost a military style operation. Then those who are just kind of there. Do they see what's really going on? And then the people who are living in that area or have a business in that area.
Yeah, that's a good question. So initially, the diehards are very serious. Last night, I was at a protest, and mind me, sorry. One of the women that was one of the, I guess, organizers berated me and yelled at me for not chanting loud enough. And when I told her I was tired, she called me a bitch and said that she had, been sleeping in the park as well, and that if I'm with them, I need to be louder. And I'm thinking, she was mad at me because I wasn't loud enough at the protest, chanting with them. So there's a lot of control and pressure there. And they demanded that everyone show up at the West Precinct at a certain time, and it's very demanding. And they also talked about the French Revolution and their new name, Chopped. And they referenced that, well, what happened to the people who didn't get on board with the last revolution in France? And everyone yelled out, they got chopped. So they ain't business. The people that are just staying around, they're like tourists. There's a lot of drugs. One individual handed me a giant handful of magic mushrooms when I came in. And no, I did not buy drugs. I'm not incriminating myself. I went ahead and cast them into the partially dried up lake. So there's that crowd. They have no idea what's going on. There was a couple overdoses and issues yesterday. One man was taken out. Another was psychotic in the street with her shirt off and had to be taken away out as well. But then the businesses, Daily Beast says the businesses are on board, but I don't know if they're on board. I can tell you they're boarded up. They're not open. And as a business owner myself, and you know, and a lot of people know, if your business is boarded up and making zero revenue, it's difficult to be on board. Daily Beast said they're on board because they're passing out granola bars. But really, I'll leave you with this. I've noticed that, like the blood on the doorposts during the 10th plague, where the angel of death passed over when it saw the blood on the doors of the Hebrews, businesses are decorating their windows with rainbow flags and Black Lives Matter, say their names, all the quotes, and the ones that have their windows covered in the quotes don't have broken glass, and they're saved. And so you have to kind of show and prove that you're with, you're with the movement to avoid the angel of death destroying your business. And it's really, really, really heavy to see. And one business in the area, the bathroom's code is 1312. That's still open, and that's ACAB, which is All Cops Are BASTARDS. So even the businesses are getting on board with the venue just to continue to, I guess, even right outside of the zone to avoid attack.
It's unbelievable, Elijah. I mean, what you're describing sounds very much like Nazi Germany in the early 30s and Kristallnacht. I mean, your store was marked to be destroyed because you were a Jew. What's the difference between that and you won't bow down to Black Lives Matter? It's a frightening time. Please stay safe, Elijah. Please stay safe.